You're listening to BayFM 99.9.
The Men's Show on BayFM is proudly sponsored by Soul Life Books and Gifts. Discover how the healing power of crystals can bring joy and harmony to your life. Attract love, prosperity, confidence, health and happiness with the perfect crystal from Soul Life in the Woolies Shopping Centre.
Thanks, Brett, for the breakfast show. Again, crazy, awesome, interesting music. Here's a bit of perhaps more sensible or just different, maybe mainstream local artist Murray Kyle with Sparrow.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Men's Show, building men's community.
Fierce but safe.
Listen in to the evolving male perspective and meet inspiring guests who are men in service to the community.
With Andy,
Casper.
And Dan.
9 till 11 a.m.
What's this button do?
Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Andy.
How are you feeling?
Welcome to the Men's Show. What a question to crack off with, Andy. Welcome to the Men's Show. And once again, thanks for the breakfast show. It's not easy doing breakfast. You have to get up really early in the morning. We used to do that, Andy. I remember getting up at something ridiculous like 4:30 in the morning to get in here by 6. So 3 hours of morning radio. It's a bit of a marathon. Thanks for that.
Yeah, quite a contribution Brett makes to the station.
So on the Men's Show, it's a bit of a talking show, and we have guests, and we're trying to emulate a men's group, a men's circle, and we normally start with the check-in, just to let you know, and to let us know, how we're feeling right now in this moment. And I'm feeling reluctant today. I don't know whether reluctant is a really real feeling. I'm feeling a bit body sore, and a feeling like I don't want to be here. And feeling a bit guilty actually. I spent most of the day in bed yesterday, and some of my friends were out there helping in Lismore and helping around this area with people with very wet houses and belongings and mud and all sorts of stuff. And I had my own kind of water issues in the house, and I just pretty much left it there and stayed in bed. So I think I'm feeling the ramifications of that. How about you, Andy?
I have been pretty unmotivated for the last couple of weeks, and nevertheless, each day I've sort of got out and done one or two things, so that's been better than nothing. But, my partner gave me a bit of a kick in the pants today, so I think it's time for me to sort of get a bit more active, and I've made that commitment this morning to her. Feeling a little bit of fear in general about facing the world, feeling a little bit of nervousness about today's show. We're one presenter down. Steve and Casper have both got work commitments, and Steve's about to go to Bali, so he's got to jam in a full week's work into half a week.
It's been good having Steve in the studio, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. It's been really good.
Sorry, I'll let you finish.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's pretty well my feelings check-in anyway. Yeah. Did you get along to the Byron Spirit Fest, Dan?
I did. On Saturday, I went and hung out after lunch and caught some nice music. Chad Wilkins, really nice music, creating in a really enjoyable, I don't want to say the word vibe, but that's pretty much what it was. And had great conversations with people, and chatted to Alex a little bit, and he was very satisfied with the fact that it stopped raining and the roads finally cleared after a while.
Yes, Alex, one of the two organisers of the whole event.
Alex Grant, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. We're here on radio. I'm not feeling super enthusiastic. We have a guest coming on.
That sounds terrible.
Sounds terrible, doesn't it? I feel very grateful to have an opportunity to be on radio. So many people put in application forms, and just recently, the new program, the programming committee was choosing new shows. So we're very lucky to be reinstated for next season, because our show is a bit controversial. Not everyone likes our show. I imagine a lot of people who just love music just want to hear music and less chatter from men talking about their feelings. But here it is. It's men talking about their feelings. So we're going to be meeting David Peace One Love, who's been on an incredible journey to do with being a dad and I guess separating in his relationship and struggling to get contact with his daughter. And he recently went on a family reunion. And to me, my impression is just his life is just opening up in amazing ways. And he's recently started a journey doing men's work. So I'm really interested to hear about his journey, where he's come from. I met him many years ago when I first moved to this area, when I used to go to the Blue Knob Farmers Market. And to me, he's a bit of a character. And he certainly has a lot of perspectives on things. So, yeah, stay tuned to hear some of David Peace One Love's perspectives. I think he's on radio. He's on a radio show in Nimbin. Never heard it.
Looking forward to that.
That was the formidable Vegetable Sound System with Energy.
Get a free education in Byron Bay culture on Bay FM 99.9.
It is still flooding in the Wilsons River at Lismore, and just been lots of people going to help out. Lots of people staying in other people's houses, and even Louise, our receptionist, our volunteered support on the desk, was mentioning how, I don't know, I guess to me, just having people stay at your house is a great contribution, whether you don't get out there with your gumboots. Maybe I would be out there with my gumboots with a spade, like digging people out of the mud. And I guess my feelings go out to people stuck in the mud, in the wet, with thousands of dollars damage to their properties and homes and businesses. Yeah, I can't imagine dealing with that mess and what it's going to take to clean it all up.
And if you are a Year 7 to 10 student and have woken up late and think you need to go to school at Mullumbimby High, in fact you don't. Years 7 to 10 are going to school tomorrow because of some flood damage to Mullum High, but Year 11 and 12 have to be at school today. Dan, you and I did a men's group together
Can we talk more about the Lismore situation?
Sure.
Well, one of the things I guess one of the reasons why I feel a bit a sense of shame is that I'm very much about, men being of service. It's one thing to go and sit in a men's circle and say, I feel bad about something, as opposed to, going out and doing something. And sometimes I definitely go out and offer my services, but for a while, I haven't. And I don't know if other people are out there can relate to. Just sitting here with a sense of shame and trying not to. Yeah, because I could have spent the whole day helping a friend out, helping many friends out.
Are you making a public confession, or are you offering your services
it does
to
feel
anyone
like
who's
a bit
listening?
of a public confession. I mean, I do have to work for the rest of the week, so it makes it a bit tricky. But
Yes, my heart goes out to you, Dan. It's a tricky one, isn't it? I also feel myself at times just not being available to sort of be that great leader in the community, getting out and getting stuff done.
Do you reckon for you, Andy, shame is a big one to sit with?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I was having some feelings this morning, early this morning, talking to my partner about ways that I haven't been showing up for helping the household, basically, and I felt this really, really unpleasant, almost like there's this yucky black slimy thing inside my body, and I'm looking at it going, ooh, that's really revolting. So that could be called shame. I was trying to feel into what's that emotion, and I used the term shame.
In my men's group, the leader of the men's group, his name's Cole. If he was here right now, he'd probably be saying, "Yeah, can you have more of that, Dan? Like, can you feel
into
more
it
of
more?
that shame? Can you just have more of that shame?" And he's really into people having healthier relationships with their feelings, and also being able to feel bad about having feelings like shame. Like the practice that we got just last week was like, what would it be like to just let yourself be not okay about having shame? Like, how do you feel about having shame, and have more of that feeling?
Exactly, isn't it? Because trying to escape an unpleasant feeling can create its own set of problems, whether it be addictive behaviours or building up my ego defences so I don't have to face them.
So right now I'm definitely feeling sad but angry and embarrassed, and I feel shame that I feel shame. Oh, double dose of shame. Anyway, that's enough navel gazing for now.
David Peace, One Love, is our guest. He's on his way in. He had tyre problems this morning, so whenever he gets here, he'll get here. And interestingly enough, you mentioned that you first met him quite a long time ago. I had no idea, but David remembered me from something like 25 years ago when he came to a meditation centre in Canberra where I was teaching, and he remembered that. I don't know how, but he did. So I'm really looking forward to sort of checking in with some of those memories from way back then.
That was the Audreys, Oh Honey.
In just a moment, we're going to be meeting David Peace, One Love.
Tune in on the web and check us out at bayfm.org. BayFM 99.9.
David Peace, One Love. First question I have is, how'd you end up with the last name Peace, One Love?
Oh, good morning, everyone. Oh, mate, it's so awesome to be here on this amazing community-based radio station. I was listening on the way in here, and I could answer that question straight up. It's, I suppose, spiritual purpose, bringing it into the physical realm. I did actually change it by Deedpole, David Peace, One Love, Deedpole.
Now, we usually...
It's a big story, I'm sure.
Yeah, I just realised that I asked a question in a different order to I usually ask.
Right.
And the usual order is when someone comes in, we get them to check in, and just Dan and I checked in initially with perhaps a check-in that was completely uninspiring to anyone listening.
Yeah, I'm glad to bring some sunshine to you guys. I'm feeling pretty amped.
Yeah, so how are you feeling in your mind, heart and body?
Oh, I am super stoked, happy, glad. As we've been saying in the men's group, one of the choices is glad. I'm very happy.
How are you feeling in your body right now?
A little tired. I was up till about nearly 4 a.m. Most of that for about 4 hours, chatting on WhatsApp to my daughter's mum. We've just been having a reconnection in the last days since the flood hit. Synchronicity of all that. Just focusing on our daughter really, and surrounding issues, and it's been nearly 6 months of being separated in quite a cosmic sense, and so it's all coming together now.
David, I know this is Byron Bay, so maybe we can talk about this, but do you believe in that weather patterns or events can have an impact on a lot of people, not just like, getting wet or getting bogged or flooded, but also, I don't know, just for me, water and the idea of washing and clearing and moving and whether it's fire, wind, storms, hail, like it seems to me like elements can have an impact on, what's happening in life, sort of moving things through. Is that something that you contemplate or you consider? The big floods and suddenly you're reconnecting in a different way with your ex-partner?
Yeah, absolutely. It's profound, actually. The elements of water, the cleansing, and also the cohesion. The power of water is about cohesion, to come together. And I've seen the power of that happen quite an extraordinary level, and it's happening in a very embodied sense for us all in this area, especially right now.
Whereabouts did you grow up?
Canberra, the capital city. Yeah.
And one of the things that I find intriguing that we were talking a bit about off air is the fact that you remember going to a meditation centre in Canberra where I was teaching.
Yes.
22 years ago.
Yes, Andy's been trying to reconnect. I certainly have a very clear memory of meeting Andy at the meditation centre that he was teaching at. It was the first time I reached out to do some healing modality to support myself. I'd really overtrained as a triathlete and still at school at the time, and so reached out to a group that I could sort of balance my body, because I was really going very hard physically and needed to balance. Yeah.
How old were you?
Well, would have probably been 1995, if not 96. Would have been 17, I reckon.
I know that recently family has become a really big issue for you, with family reunions and your own, with your daughter and your ex-partner. How did, in terms of the idea of family, like how did your family life start out? Like what was your initial experience of family coming into the world?
Well, my parents, they married and created a beautiful home and garden for about 7 years before I came along. So it was a really strong foundation. Then my parents, over the stress of myself and my brother coming along, they really kind of had different ideological perspectives and separated. By the time I was maybe 4 or 5, they were really had different directions. My dad was more keen to give us a chance to be outside of the city with a farm, and my mum was really keen to keep going with the business and stay focused in the city. So I had these quite different perspectives, which I'm really grateful that they kind of did separate, because it gave me these totally fundamentally different worlds to go to.
Were they far apart? Like, did you spend sort of a fairly equal time in both the country and the city?
We lived with Mum, my brother and I, and on the weekends and holidays we went to my dad's farms, and so that felt really rich actually, because I noticed a lot of the kids that went to school in the city there with, they didn't really have that dimension where you could go out on a motorbike and run around in the fields and be around all the animals and be down the river. And so even though we didn't seem to have that much money, we had this rich life opportunities.
And how would you describe yourself as a kid? Like if you were, what words would you just describe yourself as a kid?
Gosh. Yes.
Were you shy?
Look, there's quite contradictory elements, really. I was quite social, but also found myself later on in my school time becoming, in a way, a loner, at the same time as being quite on the edge of all the social groups. I just got to see that a lot of these cliquey groups were all saying the same types of things about each other, and I was not really in any one group because I kept bringing attention to each group that, you know, they were saying the same things about each other. So I kind of felt like a bridge, and also quite misunderstood as well, because I challenged all these cliques with what they were saying about each other.
And how was that received?
Well, it really challenged my perspective of self-acceptance, being able to be myself, and you know, because a lot of those projections about the other groups were internal based things that they harboured within themselves that they felt familiar, and I was always outside of those things, trying to be accepted within all these different groups, but constantly having that.
Does that still play out being an adult?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, still the same person, being myself, and these same elements happen in society.
I relate to what you're saying, David. Like, I definitely recognise that I used to go and hang out with different groups and different types of people, and I definitely realise for me that humans are just humans, but also, I don't know, I reckon I can be still quite sort of judgmental about different even in this area, you know, there's so many different kinds of people living in this area, and I have a sense of what you mean, this sort of sense of bridge. But it's interesting that you challenge them, you know, and did that have them reject you a bit, or was there any successful challenging where they got to see themselves and got to bridge their own gap with different groups of people?
Oh, well, I'd say it's a lifelong story, really, you know, in regards, it's playing out, you know. I'm seeing, as I'm reconnecting with some people from back in that time, that some of the perceptions of these characters and how their lives have unfolded are now revealing, you know, layers on layers. So, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, so to speak. We're all in this together.
You said that you burnt yourself out doing triathlons and then went and learnt meditation. Tell us more about that sort of shift in consciousness from that point.
Well, my understanding of, in retrospect, was I really drove myself very hard as a reaction to my mum. My mum was, you know, she had her own agenda for me, her own, what she wanted in her life that she was trying to give her kids, which, you know, especially a strong education, and she didn't really value my athletic ideals and how I was challenging myself when I took on the sport of triathlon. That was really going from just playing cricket and soccer and the traditional sports to and, you know, dealing with that social dynamic of being ostracised and the politics of team sports. Suddenly I was able to shine in my own ability, and I was, whatever efforts I made in my training was reflected in the results I was getting. It wasn't about other people. So that was the big kick I was getting out of it. I was in my own esteem rather than, you know, being relegated in the batting order, or, you know, when I got to bowl, or what position I played in you know, it was just me. So these days I'm looking forward to playing more team sports because I feel like I've balanced more of those elements.
And let's continue the story. So you learnt meditation, you were quite young. What happened next in terms of different turning points in your life?
Well, around about that time, my dad hadn't had any contact with him for all my teen years. He'd had a relationship with a woman that I tried to warn him about. You know, she's not good. She doesn't look after. You know, doesn't care about me and my brother, and he just didn't listen to us. From what I could see, he just was wrapped around her finger. And then all of a sudden he came back into my life. I remember being at the Olympic pool in Civic in Canberra, and my dad rocks up, first time I'd seen him in over 4 years, telling me his woeful story of how she had embezzled money from his company and that she was going for a settlement, and so over the next period of time he he wanted my support, and I eventually went and supported him in the family court as she went for a settlement, and just got to see her absolutely lie with all these heavy barristers that she could afford by having embezzled all this money from his company, and just see my dad have his assets overvalued and then be bankrupted by her lies was a pretty heavy thing to discover 3 months out of school.
And is that
so
what happened?
It did have a big impact on me.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Like, wow. Mm.
So pretty much all of that my dad had worked for, and the businesses he had in Canberra, were just stolen from him by lies.
Mm.
So it did, and seeing how this supposed justice system had worked, it really put me on the outer edge of society, really, because I just didn't trust in the mechanisms at play.
Mm. Well, let's continue the story after this song. That was the Be Good Tanyas with Cabin in the Woods.
We're talking with David Peace One Love about his life story at this point, so stay with us.
Son of Drum in Mullumbimby has quickly become known as Australia's most eclectic musical instrument shop. You can try out unique pieces such as harps, steel drums, wooden flutes, plus instruments from India, Africa and around the world. We now have a great new selection of guitars by Luna, Tanglewood, Sigma, Are and Admira, as well as a whole wall of ukulele. Plus amplifiers, effects, pedals, keyboards and electronic stuff like microphones and leads. We stock all the gear you'll need like strings, cases and other accessories, all at the best prices with friendly service and advice. Come and see our ever-evolving range at Son of Drum. Musical Instruments Mullumbimby, musical sponsors of BayFM.
Launching this April, an exciting new bi-monthly magazine. Through vivid photographs, noteworthy news and captivating storytelling, Byron Life is a source of inspiration and information. A publication where the eclectic vibe of the coastal community spills from each page. A place where businesses and people come alive, where you're more likely to read about your local fishermen or fire dancers than Hollywood celebrities. In an age of information overload, where new news instantly becomes old, Byron Life takes a refreshing step in the other direction, toward core values we crave, including community closeness and a feeling of knowing your neighbour. To discover more about this exciting new magazine or how to showcase your business, go to byronlifemag.com. Launching this April and proudly sponsoring BayFM.
BayFM 99.9.
David Peace One Love. We were just hearing a little bit about your formative years, and we got to the point in your story where your dad, who'd been out of touch with you for 4 years, was suddenly back in your life, and you sort of saw the court process of him being taken to the cleaners financially by his ex. Yeah. And that sort of had quite an effect on you in terms of your trust in the court system.
Yes. You know, let's go a lot of years forward. Like, I spent quite a number of years preparing to be a father, because I reflecting on my own father and how he rolled, and my contribution in society, and realising that the most influence I could have was being a father myself, and to be a better example. As I tried to explain to my dad, I'm standing on his shoulders and he can't see the view that I have from where I am, and he never will, and being able to accept that. And that's the same for my child or children to come, is that they are going to see a greater view than me. So it's quite humbling, really. I'm just part of a chain of life. So
an evolutionary chain, if you like.
Yeah, very humbling.
Between that time of reconnecting with your dad and now, you mentioned off air that your relationship with your dad is something that is important for you to share in your story.
Oh yeah, well, it's a men's show, and so we would model off the masculine from prime influences, and for me, my dad would be number one in those formative years. There have subsequently been others, but my father is a relationship that I continue to do my best to foster a good relationship with him and stay in contact, especially recent convergence at a point in time where I was actually getting a submission together to do a show right here on BayFM. But a number of events kind of came together. I was going to do New Warrior training for the men's group stuff. And then my grandfather, I got notification from my dad at the late stage that he was on his deathbed and he was about to die. So, everything, the priorities really changed. And my grandfather died within a few days. And a few days after that, after my dad had inspired a family reunion, he himself took a fall getting his own father's stuff from the nursing home and broke his hip. So followed through with going to the family reunion, hadn't seen my brother 15 years. While my dad was sidelined in the hospital, we were there in the grandfather's house, being able to reconnect after being quite a big estrangement, and being able to also discuss as parents, my brother and I, about how we feel about our dad's fathering and how we've made changes in how we operate as parents. So, I understand my dad's not going to he's not going to be any different than he has been. So I'm really grateful for my dad's example. I'm constantly reminded that he doesn't understand me and how I parent, and it's very difficult to really explain to him other than to live it.
So intriguing, really, isn't it? Just how your dad drew people together, but then he was absent, and it gave you and your brother a chance to compare notes, if you like.
Yes.
Another thing, and you don't have to answer this if it's too sensitive, but I'm curious to know what caused the estrangement with your brother in the first place. 15 years is a long time to be out of contact.
Well, ideological perspectives. My grandfather, bless his soul, was a major of the British Army, and he moved to Australia. He had a lot of awards that I still don't understand for his long-term service, and he lived the war, breathed the war, and I never really respected it. However, through his death, I do, because of how I've realised that underlying all that, his discipline and his life is still aspects I took on. It's just that I'm not a subscriber to war in any way. I'm really very contrary to that. But there's still elements that my grandfather taught me about in his life. So still grateful for that.
You want to give a bit of a shout out to the people that you know affected by the all the water from Debbie?
Yes, I mentioned that I was going to roll straight into the show with that because I found out also on the way here that my own storage had actually been inundated, so I'll be headed from here to go and sort that out. Spoke to the owner of the storage facility up in Murwillumbah. All the people in Murwillumbah, just as much as Lismore, have been smashed. A bit of a war zone in its own way. Look at the geoengineering. Anyway, so it's big love to everyone. It's nice to see how much the cohesive power is helping people transcend our attachment to materiality, and in a sense there's something spiritual about what's going on right now. How we use our material, how we share it. That song you played by Charlie with the Formidable Vegetable Sound System, that line in there about energy, you got to keep it moving. And there's some stuff that I had in the storage. I'm not sure whether it's been damaged or not, but there's things about how it kind of got locked in the storage that I've been trying to work out a way to share things. And one thing that I'm not sure about is a film project I started many years ago, which was my response to make a world better. And I've sort of been holding on to this story that's locked in these tapes and wanting to make a film project about that. And right now, at this moment, it's unknown whether that has been fundamentally damaged. And, I didn't even realise when the flood was happening that would all be put under threat until I saw the footage and photos of the flood, and it started to occur to me that maybe the storage facility had gone under. So anyway, I certainly don't want to be the first person complaining right now about what's going down. And yeah, I'm just doing my best to see how I'll be able to be helpful to people out there.
Let's continue the story when we come back.
This is The Men's Show. I'm Andy. Next to me is Dan. Dan's on music today. If you like the songs, it's all Dan's fault.
If you don't like the songs, I like playing random songs, just sticking my finger on one and going, okay, that'll do.
And our guest is David Peace, One Love. David, you've started doing men's work this year. Tell us what's that meant for you.
Well, it's been something that looking at for a long time to do, and having the time and energy to actually be committing to do it. What has it meant? It's meant massive amount, the group that I've been going to was recommended to me by my doctor, actually, a total champion, and he told me about another total champion, who I believe has been on your show as well, and by referral I went along, and just astounded by the quality of consciousness and the integrity and the sacred space container that's created by the men, and their honesty, and that the protocol, some deep healing takes place each week. We're going to another one this Wednesday night.
So your men's group meets weekly?
Fortnightly.
Oh, fortnightly, yeah.
It's a good men's group. Yeah.
Tell us more about it.
Oh, I've just been to one I group because I was also thinking about doing a thing called the New Warrior Training, which happened last weekend, the Mankind Project.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah, they're connected in with the Mankind Project and use the protocols, but it's an open group, as in you don't have to have done all the training. Like I was going to be doing the New Warrior Training of the weekend of the 25th of March, but I had to focus on what that represented to me and embody it without the form, so to speak.
Well, it's interesting, because it's all about a rite of passage that weekend. It sounds like you've had an incredible rite of passage recently with your family and your grandfather and your dad, and that whole transition. And when I think of family, I know that often in my own family there's conflict and there's breaking apart and potentially coming back together. What was that like for you, when you were on the plane for the first time in years and you're kind of going towards this family union? What were your feelings? What was going through your mind on the plane going down there?
Yeah, well, I really had no idea what it was going to be. I just had a very open mind, open heart to how I could bring benefit to the family and be myself, really. And I was quite pleasantly surprised by my brother's attitude from the outset, from my dad proposing we're going to have a family reunion, Dad suggesting there was hostility between me and my brother, me deciding that I wasn't going to let that come between. If it really was going to be the case, I didn't need to battle. But my brother really just blew me away with his positive attitude and his welcoming me into his family by introducing me to my nephew, his son, who was coming down for the journey as well.
What was your relationship like? Because how long was it? Was it 15 years that you hadn't seen your brother?
Pretty much, yeah.
And what was your relationship like back then?
Well, his career choice was more in the lines of our grandfather and also the early days for my dad. In a way, a type of serviceman with authority, and he was doing the training. And I remember him going to his graduation and me saying to him that we might be chalk and cheese in some aspects, but what we'd always have in common is that we're both staunch advocates for justice. But we have just completely different ways of going about it. So there is respect to our parents, like a strong sense of integrity and yeah, just that we all have different experiences that shape the mode that we deliver who we are. So.
Has your perspective changed in any way with all of the I mean, I know that I've experienced my own kind of personal journey of growing up, and it's still happening. Would you say that in those 15 years your ideology has been shaped or changed or moulded by certain experiences?
Since the last meeting with my brother?
Yeah.
Yeah, in a way, a full circle. You know, from feeling very ostracised from society to coming to a point where I feel really qualified to bring something to society and with authority, and being able to feel the elements of being a bridge and being able to knit and weave things together where the resources might not be connecting, and helping people communicate and understandings be realised. And there's great resources that can be shared by holding space. The same thing's happening right now with me and my daughter's mum, like just giving her space and time to formulate her thoughts and express things that have been happening, you know, is creating a new foundation for, you know, the benefit of our child.
So I know a lot of, perhaps, I don't know the whole story, but from what you've shared with me, there was a sense of you being misrepresented by people towards your ex-partner. I imagine if that happened to me, I'd find it very hard to live with that. You know, very hard to live if someone had misrepresented me to the point where, you know, something serious could go down in terms of my personal freedom. How was that handling that? Because that's been going on for a while now.
Yeah. Well, we're in this for the long haul, especially when you have a child with someone. You can either decide to be having a battle, or you can actually just keep having an attitude to work together and just deal with it as it is, be supportive. So that's what I've been doing.
Right.
Even though we've actually had really no direct communication for a long time in the last 6 months. You know, not having the direct communication has not stopped me constantly feeding the prayers of how, as a man and as a human, I can create a better foundation for when the opportunity does come for us to communicate and create a better world. And in that process, own everything that's my stuff, how it is that I've been contributing to the crisis or the malaise.
Often my experience of when I've been called to account, it's been very humbling for me. How's that been for you to kind of look at yourself and go, okay, where have I been contributing to this, whatever's been going on?
Well, that's entirely all that I've been focused on, is what's in my control, what's in my power, what have I been contributing to here, and how can I make it easier for all the people around me? How can I make it simpler? And how can I create a vision that's something that everyone benefits from, rather than just, you know, there's been a lot of spontaneous counselling over that time frame, even prior. I'm an honest person, and I've also realised that going into the story all the time, I was also recreating this same sort of story, and what story do I really want? And so that's where the men's work has had to come in, like how to go into a point where you're not ruled by your feelings, where you're actually able to feel your feelings and then actually come from a place of wisdom and right action, conduct.
And that was something that your I group has been supporting you to do?
Yeah. Yeah, the culture of the men's group is, you know, at the first night I went there, actually, I really wanted to bring the issues I had to the fore, and so I was the one that got worked on that night, and I was profoundly blown away by the process that took place. And I've been going every fortnight since that first night, and you know, it's a real strong commitment to continue to do that, to support other men as well, because I feel like I've greatly benefited from the power of that the group in working together and showing support and the intelligence that comes through that as a group mind, and seeing how even when someone else is being worked on, you're being worked on as well, because elements of that person you can relate to, and there's stuff that you can take from that situation taking place. So
I've heard quite a lot about the Mankind Project, and the I group are called integration groups, aren't they? That sort of go off, usually off the end of the warrior training weekend. Is that your understanding?
Look, I don't even know.
Right.
Mm.
But this particular group is open.
I group,
so,
I thought was just more that, as it is with the protocol of your show, as you stated, is to come from a place of I rather than talking about we or you, bringing back to the point of power, which is what my experience is, therefore I'm speaking from I.
Ah, interesting. Great. Yeah. I'm really intrigued to hear a little bit more about your experience of the group specifically. So we'll go to a song now and hear a bit more about your journey in men's work.
Fantastic.
That was Cat Power with After All That Rain.
The tune is called After It All.
Mm.
Hey, and here we are, after it all. We are the Men's Show. I'm Andy. This is Dan.
G'day.
And we're with David Peace One Love, who changed his name by deed poll how long ago?
Officially in August 05.
Right. Now, we were talking about how you've just started men's work and how you found that the process of being able to be held in a group, and you used the term being worked on in the sense that your issue was the central issue that night for the group, and you also mentioned that when other men are having their issue sort of looked at by the group, then you benefit as well, because there's always common things that you can learn. Any other particular aspects of this particular men's group that stand out for you in terms of growth?
Well, the sense of support. You're no longer alone. It's very clear that you can reach out and ask for help. So it's no longer need to struggle, which is quite powerful. I think this is the most essential.
And we've since you came in about an hour ago, we've sort of been going in little different directions, but there's been a bit of a life story narrative that we've been looking at. You have had a challenge recently around access to your daughter, and I think that's something that a lot of men face, and I'm wondering what you'd like to tell us of that story.
Thanks. Well, firstly I want to celebrate that yesterday was the first time in that long time that I saw my daughter again. We
6 months or so?
Just about 6 months, yeah. And we had a beautiful time, as we always do, and it was just so beautiful to just continue rather than, try and make sense of anything. She's just over 3.5. There was no need to try and make sense of what did happen, or that there was even a problem. Just come back into the moment like a child and play and see what the next great opportunity is, and just look at the world from her perspective rather than as these adults that have been having these problems, and we don't even know what the real issues have been at this point. What I can say is great that Mama and I are now having some real honest, deep communication. Most of it's just in a text format at the moment. I sense that she's starting to feel that she more is feeling comfortable and trusts my integrity, and that feels great to feel that that's to the benefit of our child, because that's where I'm at.
Now, your daughter's only 3.5, so 6 months is quite a long chunk of her life not to be in it. What were your feelings when, at the start of the day yesterday? I can't imagine what that would be like. It must have been pretty intense emotionally for you at the beginning.
Oh, before they turned up, I definitely had to see it to believe it was actually happening. You know, my brain was still making up. You know, like, oh, this is a game. They're trying to do whatever. They're pretending that we're going to meet. You know, but at the same time, like, I'd spoken to Rose for an hour, the day before, and she'd said how much she wanted to hang out with me, and it was pretty much just had to keep trusting that this is all about her, not about me or Mama.
I'm really curious, David, because I have a sense that something must have shifted. You know, something must have shifted in terms of just an opening, some kind of opening in terms of your family reunion. It seems like just recently things have been kind of shifting, and I just wonder whether it's you believe it's just from your persistent openness, or whether you know, something dropped, or something was let go of, or something was embraced. Like, would you say, and just in terms of the whole personal responsibility, like I manifested this, I created this. Would you say that something in you has shifted that has enabled this opening for your ex, for your daughter, for your family?
I wouldn't say it's just one thing. I'd just say that I don't have an attitude of where I think gambling is a good idea, because I don't think there's just suddenly some win that's going to change everything. I think it's just consistency and persistence. Just staying focused is what will just keep. And so I just had the mantra of what the whole family court's supposedly about, which is the best interest of the child. And I have, as we covered earlier in the show, I have my doubts about the process, but that's subjective to one situation, so I can't say that that's the whole view. All I can do is just be focused on what that mantra is, and keep focused on the best interest of the child, and nurturing my own inner child, how I can integrate myself and all of the wounding from the past and come into the moment.
I imagine something like that would take a bit of support, like you being supported. I'm wondering who or what has been supportive of you during this whole time.
Oh, a lot of people. It's an endless list. I've created that list by being honest and open. And early in the day, especially when the alienation began, I did make a fundamental choice. I could have just shriveled up and become a bitter person, and been just having this woe story. However, I did my best to just be honest about the facts at hand and share with people, and my candidness and openness had people bringing forth their stories, similar situations. A lot of, certainly couldn't pull rank on other stories where people have been alienated, and I got to see particular themes with people about whether they were making that same choice about being open and honest and having a transparent account. And reflecting back on my parents and how I don't feel like I could have learned a lot more from my parents if they were more open and transparent about the real issues. And I can't change my parents, and I can't change my daughter's mum either. All I can do is be the best example, and live the example that I want to see in the world, and continue to learn from the people around me, which includes my daughter's mum, which includes my dad, who's still here. My mum's passed, but yeah, I do my best to learn from everyone and share.
Very interested in that idea that you brought up around looking after your own inner child too, and I was hearing in that it would be possible in such a difficult situation to kind of play out stuff that you learnt from your parents that's negative, and it sounds like you're not doing that. So a bit interested after this song to hear a bit more about that sort of self-care that you've been looking at, particularly your own inner child, and making sure you're not just reenacting wounding that you received as a child.
Oh, yes.
That was local artist Elena B. Williams with To Know Love.
Stick around. We're going to be talking to David Peace One Love about his experience of healing wounding that's stored in his inner child.
Get a free education in Byron Bay culture on Bay FM 99.9.
This is the Men's Show. If you've just tuned in, we're speaking with local David Peace One Love, and he's been sharing his journey about all different kinds of growth and separation from family and coming back together in different ways at different times. You mentioned in the last talk break, David, that one of the things you were trying to do in the situation where you didn't have access for 6 months to your 3.5-year-old daughter, that you were making an effort not to just replay woundings from your childhood. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey of that kind of healing?
Well, I had to take responsibility for that. What is happening, and there's no accident. So keeps coming back to what's in my control. How can I make this better from what's happening? Because that's all we can do. We're always attracting exactly what's right for us, even if we think it's not right. It still is happening. So, yeah, that's been the general understanding.
And inner child, when you think about your inner child, what happens? What do you
It's a bit of a curly question, I reckon, Andy.
My inner child, well, how we see the world has been formulated from our experience, and we bring that into the next moment and the next moment. So if we just if we don't bring that into the light, then we behave like that unconsciously. So within the circumstance, I've done my best to bring it into consciousness, into my consciousness, so I could become a better person and not just be ruled by my feelings and having just the agendas that I had, or the aspirations for my daughter that I think she'd have, and just starting to see that we're all working together. And just because it's not happening according to my idea doesn't mean that it's not, that it doesn't mean it's wrong. And so being able to incorporate the power of everyone around me and accept that there's a beautiful perfection in it. So rather than being contrary and opposed, really working together, even though it doesn't look like it. I think I'm going to just have that attitude and let it happen and let it become even better.
I'm quite inspired by that. What a great way to look at life. And it's something I try to do too. Instead of being opposed and hold a fixed position, it's kind of like, okay, well, how can I be fluid enough to go, okay, well, my perception on reality may not be totally true. My perception on reality, I may not have the exact idea about the right way forward, but if I can just sit back a bit and try to put myself in other people's shoes and try to work together, then something good's going to come out.
Yeah.
You know that expression, walking in someone else's shoes? Sometimes I wonder whether it'd be worthwhile actually doing that.
Physically?
Yeah, let's swap shoes and, just sort of see what it feels like in my shoes, and you can see what it's like in my shoes.
Yeah, especially while people are dealing with their flood situation. Go and see what it's like to have some soggy shoes right now dealing with your shit.
Yeah.
They might need some help. You might see it another perspective. I need to make some money this week to pay the rent and all those sorts of things. And I've just moved house and in a great place where my daughter's able to come. Yet at the same time, that seems like such a small challenge relative to situations that people are facing right now. So I'm unknowing how to best apply myself this week. I don't even know what people really need. If I want to provide a service, it's really loose right now. Yeah.
Well, do you want to put your hand up if you're free? Do you want people in the area to ring up and say, hey, David, I want you to come and help me, clean up my backyard? Or I should be putting my hand up for this.
I'm just thinking to myself.
Look, I hear you, and I agree. There's only just one of me, but there's many of us. I'd say that there's some groups that are forming, especially on Facebook, clean-up groups where there's networking that's able to take place. If you have the opportunity to help, you can connect in with those networking information sites to tune in, go and go and help. It's the best thing I can say right now. I've actually got to go and deal with my own stuff, and especially due to a late night last night, my daughter's mum actually needs me to have our daughter tonight, which is amazing. And she's going to have her first night staying with Daddy for a long time. So that's number one right now, is just actually, I've just moved to a place, just establishing a house. So I would love to put my hand up and say, yeah, I'll just come out and help everyone. But it's not practical, it's not realistic. I am doing what I can to be positioned and support, and that's my aptitude right now. I'm available to assist on that level as I'm on the radio putting that frequency out. Let's see what we can do to help the people around us.
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? Trying to figure out, what can I actually manage? Why don't we go to a tune, and when we come back, we'll hear the final sort of thing you want to share, whatever that may be, David.
Yeah. BayFM 99.9. On air through the stratosphere and online in cyberspace.
We've mentioned the flooding a couple of times during the show, and someone from BayFM just brought in a very recent announcement from the SES. It's an all clear for South Murwillumbah and Condong, and the incident controller there has said the Tweed River is now receding, and the SES has issued an all clear as of today. And when re-entering your property or place of business, be mindful of wildlife, vermin and snakes that may have taken refuge there. Make sure the electricity and gas is turned off before going inside. Use a torch to carry out inspections inside buildings. If power points, electrical equipment, appliances or electrical hot water systems have been exposed to flood water or are water damaged in any way, they must be inspected by a qualified electrician before use. Gas appliances and gas bottles that have been exposed to floodwater should be inspected for safety before use too. And remember, never drive or ride through floodwater. The New South Wales SES, who's put out this announcement, their number is 132 500, or you can go to ses.nsw.gov.au. On the men's show, we often will give our guest an opportunity to share on video that gets posted to our Facebook page a little message, which is kind of their final chance to share something with the world. So while Dan gets that ready, what is your final message, David? Peace, one love.
Yeah, well, I'm very grateful to be on the men's show here on BayFM. Thank you, guys. The message subjective to today is very much for the men in the family, is to just continue to be the best man you can, and believe that by doing what you know is right as a man, you're doing what's right for your family. Maybe things don't look exactly how you think they should be, but keep having faith and keep doing the right action, and things will be okay. They could even be amazing.
Thank you.
To me, when I hear you talk, David, it seems like your sort of take-home message is that your priority is just your daughter, like just doing the right thing by your daughter.
Absolutely. It's not my number one job comes before my occupational work. She deserves the best, and I'm doing my best to align my work around her needs, not the other way around, which is fundamental different attitude to my father. He wasn't there for us when we really needed him because of supposed work needs, and I feel like we're shaping the next generation by putting the needs of the child's development at the front, and being creative around how we can make things work for that. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. It's always been the case, and I'll continue to put her number one.
And what are you good at? Like, if someone was listening, I'll give that guy, a bit of work. Like, what skills do you have? What do you enjoy doing? What would you enjoy being paid to do?
I would love to get paid for creative multimedia. I love making films. I love being able to help share people's visions, their passions, what they love. that's what I would love to get some income for that, and to continue to increase and improve the resources I have to help people with that.
And what are you willing to do to get work until someone, hands you your ideal job, or you get funds to do your ideal project? Like, what are you willing to do?
Well, I would consider myself quite multi-skilled. I learn quickly when I've got the focus. I've been working as a removalist every now and then, and I love gardening, and I'm good at cleaning, simple basic things like that. Wow, yeah.
Great. Well, I think it's time for a checkout from the men's show. And I almost feel like apologising to people listening, because I definitely have found it difficult to be on the ball today. And I'm very grateful that Andy's here. And I really honour you, David, because I have met you many years ago, and spent very little time with you. And I can see through all, that was probably about 6 years ago that I first met you. You've obviously been on a big journey, and I get that the goal of really caring for your daughter and wanting to prioritise family, and that has been a big crucible for you to take you through some challenging times. So I honour you for that, and I feel encouraging that you're taking on men's work, and you're being supported, and you're getting support, and you're staying open and optimistic. That's what I left with.
Thank you, guys.
Is that your checkout?
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm checking out with a feeling of inspiration, and I've enjoyed the last couple of hours with both of you guys, and I've felt totally like you've been on the ball enough for us to do an adequate job as radio presenters. And of course, while I remember, stick around for the Pregnancy, Birth and Beyond show, which is coming up next.
Nice.
So that's my little check out.
Yeah.
What are you left with after the last sort of hour and a half or so with us, David?
Well, I feel that's very appropriate. The Pregnancy, Birth and Beyond show will follow from the men. We've helped create a nice space to honour the mamas and the bubbas, to, put attention where that's where we all come from. I'm feeling pretty grateful, amazingly grateful to have spent this time with you guys. I've wanted to come on this show for ages, and not wanting to come on with the story that I had, and really grateful to be on a better foundation, and hopefully that, I know that's going to have flow-on effects for our whole community. So thanks guys for the opportunity, and I hope you out there listening have appreciated it as well, and honourably in service to you, I'm going to check out. Thank you.
Thank you.